We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat. As if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes, men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. And score another one for Whitney Webb. Let me tell you something, folks. Whitney Webb has done really, I would say, an enormous service to people like myself who for years have tried to expose a quote-unquote deep state or executive within an executive that is cutthroat beyond mafia level, although incorporating organized crime into their model. And this is just too far for some people to go, okay? But we have to remember that the Central Intelligence Agency, during the days, okay, of MK Ultra, were running programs where they were running brothels. And if you don't think that underage girls, aka girls who were not 18, were part of that operation, you don't know how these people think or work. Now, on the flip side of that, when it's somebody of legal age and you happen to be cheating on your wife, all of a sudden, that's also blackmailable. So the big story going around right now is Jeffrey Epstein's attempt to extort money from Bill Gates over alleged affair with a young Russian. Man, they might want to change that headline. It's too bad because they actually had a pretty good breakdown of it. You know, it's behind the paywall over at the Wall Street Journal. But basically you have this 20-year-old Russian who is apparently a bridge player that he met, and her name is Mila Antonova. Okay, so she's a card player. And maybe Billy Boy wanted to stay married. You know, some wives are not cool, no matter how much money you have, with you cheating on them. So that is a blackmailable offense. Okay? And Whitney has been kind enough to send me these two bad boys. Okay? Take a look at that. I for people to understand, okay, how thick this is right now. Okay? I want people to see what I got right here. This is the American Heritage Dictionary of the English Language. Been getting a lot of dictionaries lately because you know what? They're scrubbing words in the post-truth world. You see that? Let me try to... Yeah, that's right. Her books are thicker than this bad boy. I get it. It's got smaller print, bigger pages. That's impressive. She's an impressive person. And when I've seen people come out and attack her, people who are trying to be social media influencers, losers of the highest degree, okay? Disingenuously, I know she's doing something right. And she's continued to do stuff that's right. She's awesome, man. Like, the work with Unlimited Hangout has been phenomenal. Some of the best out there. And, she's getting her due. I know that she's doing bigger and bigger interviews and deserves to. Again, she's helped other voices get out there, the people that aren't petty attackers and losers. Okay? Let me just say this. There's always room for legitimate criticism, right? I don't get everything right. I don't think that Whitney necessarily gets everything right. She got the blackmail thing right. Big time. Big time. She's correctly identifying the network. In fact, I had Whitney Webb on just before January 6th, and she predicted January 6th. In fact, tomorrow, I'm probably going to go and find that interview, probably a long one. It's probably between an hour and a half long. And I'm going to pick out 5 or 10 minutes of that. We're going to play that tomorrow to show you, how much of a mind she is, and she gets it. She gets it. And this is, look, an international intelligence cartel. And that doesn't mean every single one of these people holds a clearance of some sort. There are cabals within these cabals. We've been talking recently about the Bilderberg Group. Wow. Again, huge story, barely discussed. Dan Dix, Josh Friedman, Charlie Skelton. We're going to actually read all of Charlie's article, I think, in the next segment. Charlie's article is awesome. I wish I could just have Charlie come on. I'm going to reach out to him and try to get his aftermath of Portugal and Lisbon. Did another bang-up job. In fact, the Guardian piece is the best piece because Charlie Skelton is there. And here's the thing. When I say cabals within cabals, oh, well, the Bilderberg Group is public now. They gave us the list. And then they snuck Yuval Noah Harari in there. Old Yovali. And it's only because independent media was there. Another thing that is not being discussed here, okay, and we're going to go through this whole Twitter feed here, is that some U.S. diplomat, an American diplomat, according to police, stayed for a little over 2 hours and then left. Huge motorcade for this person. Who is this U.S. diplomat? I didn't want to play the guessing game, and this is what we're going to be reading. But G7 on the table, all that stuff. I'm wondering if anybody has John Kerry's itinerary for, and I'm not saying that was John Kerry, by the way. I'd just be curious to know where John Kerry is, because out of all the old players, the old school players in this administration, I think that he is the most important to them, the most coherent, the most on board, in a sense that he's been doing this for a very long time, right? Wearing the mask. I mean, literally the mask. Look at that. Ugh. Again, don't like to go on appearances, but whatever he did to his face years and years ago, creeps me out, man. Gives me the wajilly illies. I don't like it. I'd like to know where he is. Because again, we have a president of the United States who can't speak. He can't talk, at all. It's gotten worse and worse and worse. And I saw him blaming MAGA extremists for the economy. And that's why in the second hour, the premium hour, which you can get over at rvmrumble.com free. When I say premium, it's uncensored. There are certain clips, for example, the Orfella clip that I want to play. I'm not sure we're going to get to play it, of basically every single talking head out there using the Bernaysian line they were giving. Nobody is safe until all of us are safe. And for him, and good, listen, again, we need people to push the limits. I can't play the video on my channel, because if I play it on my channel, I'll get banned. They'll just take my channel. I don't even think they'll just give me a strike. I think they take my channel. Okay. He had limited monetization on his, and he posts a thing. Hey, good for you, buddy. Good for you, but some of us don't live in that world. Some of us live in the world of the ban hammer immediately. And it's only going to get worse through AI regulation of this as the algorithms get better and better and better, which they will. Okay, and already are. There's a 60 Minutes clip we are going to play in the first hour as well that really goes into technology that is much older but now commercially available. And I want to talk about that briefly. So in the 60 Minutes clip, basically you have a woman who is an ethical hacker. And what an actual white hat is, everybody, when we're talking about the computer hacking industry. Now, at the same time, has a business, a consultancy, does very intricately work with the military industrial complex as well as big business. Okay? Are there conflicts there? Probably. But the illustration is that now AI software and voice morphing software is so good in real time that using a simple phone spoofing tool, which have been around now well over a decade, like 15 years, commercially available and easy to use. It comes up basically if they have access to your contacts or know what they're in the phone as, they just put that name in, spoof it with the number, it comes up, right? They find out what the phone number is, spoofs it, comes up, and then in real time, the voice is there. And I won't give away the example until we watch the clip. But that technology, the voice morphing technology in real time, has been around literally like 25, 30 years. 25, 30 years. How do I know that? How do I know that? Because in Loose Change 2nd edition, and many people have really criticized that edition, and some legitimate criticism, 100%. That's why we made the final cut. And there are certain things that were taken out. And this was taken out. But at the time, we were pointing to the fact that before the attacks in 2001, there was already real-time voice morphing software that was being utilized by our government, our military-industrial complex, our shadow government, the executive within the executive, the continuity of government program. And I believe they called the president as the example, as somebody. Now, think about that. Would that be unprecedented? No, it would not, as we've already seen that the Central Intelligence Agency, when using human-like masks, went to George Bush's office and had a conversation with him as another person with that face on, and then took the mask off in front of him. So the voice morphing technology, we took a lot of hits. And by the way, I just want to say this. I think that some of the phone calls were real. I think that others should obviously be questioned in light of the technology that we knew existed then and is now commercially available. Because that's how it works, everybody. The military-industrial complex utilize things that are not available to the public, that have been developed through technology to manipulate the public, all right, and run covert operations behind the scenes. Now, eventually, as technology progresses, that gets out into the arena. And now Pandora's box is opening everywhere. So, Nico House in the second hour. I'm really excited about that. I haven't talked to Nico in like forever. That's a true, left perspective, progressive perspective. You want to come over to rvmrumble.com or just go subscribe right now. Hit the notifications, everything over at Rumble's channel. And there is a almost 12-hour feed from the beginning of this show all the way through to Wayne Dupree at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I mean, 9 to 8:30, they're doing it live. So you just go over to that live stream. It continues on. You're going to get to see a real conversation between two people that may not agree on everything. I want to get his take on the border. I want to get his take on Biden. I want to get his take on RFK Jr. and so much more. We're going to talk about it in a moment on the flip side.
Folks, we have a huge problem on our hands. A banking crisis is spiraling, and it's all thanks to the current administration's reckless spending, sky-high inflation, and massive interest rate hikes. Now, these banks are suffering, and guess what? They can legally seize your savings without notice to bail themselves out. That's right. Thanks to a sneaky law passed back in 2008, it's now legal for banks to take your hard-earned money, including your retirement savings, to save themselves. Now, this could leave your retirement accounts decimated, and you paying the price for their disastrous policies. Take action now before it's too late. Now, this guide will show you how to defend your money and keep your retirement savings safe from the banking crisis and the current administration's financial fiasco. This simple and 100% legal strategy may help you protect your retirement against higher taxes, soaring inflation, and a volatile economy. So don't let your golden years be ruined by someone else's mistakes. To secure your free wealth protection guide and safeguard what's rightfully yours, don't wait. The time to act is now.
All right, we are back. One Nation Under Blackmail, volumes 1 and 2. Again, One Nation Under Blackmail, volumes 1 and 2, proven right yet again. Okay, Whitney Webb doing it real. And I want to go back to that story really quickly before we get into the AI and play the clip, because this Virgin Island case is huge. Why do you think all this is coming out right now? It's because someone had the ballskis and hutch to say, you know what, we've got some money and resources. There are still a lot of victims that are not being paid out. Let's take it to them. Okay, and we're talking about a team of lawyers in this case. Okay, the amount of documentation that's already out there is astounding. Deutsche Bank settles for $75 million. Let me say that. $75 million recently. Okay, that's a huge deal. You just can't get away with like ads popping up after you bring it in. But $75 million recently, just in the last few days. Wow. Well, how about that? You've got Staley. You've got the fact that there are obvious jokes being thrown around with these high-level banksters about them knowing what Epstein was doing to young girls, joking about him dating Miley Cyrus. Doesn't mean he was dating her. That means they all knew he was into what? Young girls. 100%. It's a big fun fest. Jamie Dimon's supposed to testify. They're trying to subpoena Wexner. This is the case to pay attention to in case you haven't been listening to me. You know, forget about lists being unlocked, all that stuff. I have a scheduled interview with Nick Bryant. Okay, he called me last week and I totally forgot to call him back. I got a lot of big phone calls that I missed over the week and weekend that I'm going to have to get to. I got 2 other interviews to do after this because we're keeping the premium going too, big time. I just did Jay Dyer, Stuart J. Hooper, must-sees, an hour long. We've released snippets here and there. I may play a clip or 2 in the first hour. But these are the real academics we should be looking at, period. You know, Dyer, Hooper, Webb. They're extremely intelligent, extremely well-sourced. They get it. They get beyond the paradigm of right and left. And in a lot of ways, that paradigm is about to shift greatly with this new technology. So now I want to play this clip of 60 Minutes and this new publicly available AI technology.
If you don't know how a criminal thinks, then you really don't know how you can protect yourself online.
Rachel Toback is what's called an ethical hacker. She studies how these criminals operate.
So ethical hackers, we step in and show you how it works.
Toback is the CEO of Social Proof Security, a data protection firm that advises Fortune 500 companies, the military, and private citizens on their vulnerabilities. We hired her to show us how easy it is to use information found online to scam someone. We asked her to target our unsuspecting colleague, Elizabeth. Toback found Elizabeth's cell phone number on a business networking website.
So, number one, there is a place where your information, right, your public information, it's all over the place. All over the place. Like, easy to access this stuff. some of it are behind like small paywalls. But if you're targeting somebody, a small paywall is nothing. Yeah, people would be shocked if they realize the data mining that is going on constantly in their lives, behind the scenes. And then that track trace database system is going to the highest bidder. Now, my fear is that the solution to all this stuff, because, basically everything does break this year. All the types of authentication via visuals and audio, it does. It's going to get out of control. But their solution is to have more track, trace, and database, but now under your skin. Like biomedical tyranny, one could only imagine in the darkest and most dystopic reality.
As we set up for an interview, Toback called Elizabeth, but used an AI-powered app to mimic my voice and ask for my passport number.
Oh, yes, I do have it. Okay, ready? It's...
Toback played the AI-generated voice recording for us to reveal the scam.
Elizabeth, sorry, need my passport number because the Ukraine trip is on. Can you read that out to me?
Does that sound familiar?
Yes. And I gave her... Wow.
I have your passport number.
I'm sitting over there.
What did it say on your phone?
Sharon.
So I want to reiterate this. The spoofing stuff has been around commercially forever. It's a lot easier, right, than just real-time voice morphing technology based on maybe even a small bit of audio. And I am glad that the target was somebody who wasn't quote-unquote famous, right? Like, if you had just targeted the host of the show, there's plenty of publicly available audio of that person. You don't need that much publicly available audio of anybody anymore. That's also very frightening. So the technology, who knows, 25, 30 years ago when the military-industrial complex was using it, you might have had quite a bit. It might have taken some real computing power. So you might have had had to have a real big hardware device, right? That's something we all have to acknowledge. Now, that hardware device, just about anything can handle it. Because technology gets smaller. They can fit more transistors. Moore's law is real. Okay? Does that mean we're hitting the singularity soon? Let's hope not. Because their version of the singularity is nightmare-ish. Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, everybody.
How did you do that?
So I used something called a spoofing tool to actually be able to call you as Sharon.
Oh, so I was hacked, and I failed hacking.
But everybody would get tricked with that.
Yeah.
Everybody would. It says Sharon. Why would I not answer this call? Why would I not give that information?
Toback showed us how she took clips of me from television and put it into an app that cloned my voice. It took about 5 minutes.
I am a public person. My voice is out there. Could a person who's not a public person like me be spoofed as easily?
Anybody can be spoofed. And oftentimes attackers will go after people. They don't even know who these people are, but they just know this person has a relationship to this other person. And they can impersonate that person enough just by changing the pitch and the modulation of their voice that I believe that's my nephew and I need to really wire that money. If you don't know how...
I believe that's my nephew and I need to really wire that money. We're here, and that's just like one of the very, very small examples of this. Again, well, the idea that there aren't going to be like audio filters and face filters just the way that you see them now popping up on social media, like the glam filter, right? You're not paying attention. Of course they are. And that should frighten people because real-time face and audio that is publicly available and that you don't need a crazy device for is going to be used in, first of all, it's a tool, right? So some people will use it like in a cool manner, right? They're kind of neat. They're kind of cool. And they'll use it for art and video projects, but that's the thing. Now people posting online, and I was thinking about this the other day. Like I said, I've made mistakes, and there were 2 instances that I got duped and posted something on Twitter that was totally and completely fake. Yes, I did it. Man, I've been there since 2011. I can think of 2 times that I posted fake news. Fake news Bermas. You know him. Shilly McBee. Fake news. And those 2 times were, one is the Charlie Hebdo attack. And somebody had made like a mock, I think it was like CNN International site, and I didn't look at it, and it was totally fake, and I deleted it within, I think someone behind the scenes told me, I believe it might have even been Abby Martin. And props to Abby. Thank you so much. There's a lefty whose work I respect. I may not agree with Abby all the time, or her brother Robbie, but they put the work in. I'll tell you that right now. And they certainly source their material. So she tells me that I take it down. Another time, there was a fake news story, I think, about Dog the Bounty Hunter and some incident that went on. And I posted it, and I think it was Paul Joseph Watson that hit me up and said, hey, man, this is a satire site. I'm like, oh, snap. Got me. They got me. Since then, I've been a lot more careful. I still see stuff all the time that people say is new or is real. Like there's a terrible fake video of the Pentagon, okay? And it being hit by, this sky. I mean, it's awful CGI, but at the same time, there's actually a couple of those videos. And, I mean, those are years and years, and somebody will send them to me in my DMs. And before they post them, people want to know, is this a real story? Is this a real video? I can go, no, it's not real. Soon that's not really going to be possible for me to do anymore. I'll tell you this. I was watching some UFO docs because I'm always really interested. I've been watching a lot of NASA, UFO. People think that I have a closed mind because I've been talking about for a very long time that I don't necessarily believe in alien life. It's a possibility, but I don't think it's ever been proven. And I think the vast majority of that is a disinfo program to hide exotic technologies, right? And I don't just say that. I watch tons of stuff that, in my opinion, is from the other side, the MUFON side. And not that they're a bad organization. Out of all those people, because there are like a lot of grifters within that industry. I'll say that 100%, but there's grifters everywhere. Right? I think that Richard Dolan is probably like the most well-spoken, the most honest, the most evidence-based. But when it comes down to it, that evidence is on paper and from people that work within the system and unfortunately can't be trusted. I was watching this one on the conscious connection, and I'm watching these these people that think they're talking to aliens in their head from some other region, and I'm thinking, all right, well, let's assume they're not lying or hallucinating or something like that. Like this is actually happening to them. We're talking about voice technology, right? So you can say it in any kind of voice, but how do you know that's not a voice of God, voice to skull technology by the government? Again, that's a real thing. All right? That's seriously a real thing. That's why, for me, for instance, the targeted individual issue is an issue, but I can't prove it one way or the other at all. Like, it's going to be hard for somebody to get to the meat and potatoes if somebody's getting the voice of God or two skull technology. Talk about not winning the lottery. Winning the shit lottery that's happening to you, and nobody's really listening to you because, again, we live in that world where how could you? And they're disregarded out of hand. And then the other thing is that so many of them are on the inside and then talking about seeing these aliens. Very skeptical, especially with all the bioengineering we've been doing for literally since the World War II era. Chimera technology. We'll get into that and more after a word from our sponsor.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog beds.
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Mike, I'm interrupting this commercial. I can't help myself every time I watch it. I want to talk like this. Here's the deal. When I discussed the Bilderberg Group, its satellite organizations, and the methods they use for their madness, I talk about the military-industrial complex black budget. And that black budget, I mean, really, you're talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of $500 billion to $2 trillion a year at this point. Very hard to prove. Think about how that money moves and where it moves to and what it moves for. And some of that probably relates to old Blackmailington. Old Blackmailington. Make a lot of money through blackmail. Hey, Gates! We need you to fund something. Get out that cheese, son. Him and every other scumbag that, quote unquote, gets on the boat and becomes compromised. And the thing is, I want to read this entire Guardian article on the Bilderberg Group, which we will be doing. But before that, I want to play just this 3-minute or so clip of myself and what is it? Do I have? Yeah, there it is right there. It's actually only like 2 minutes of Stuart J. Hooper and I talking about that black budget. This is on the premium side. You can get the whole thing, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. That's right, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored. Try it the first week out for $1, and then it is $10 a month, or lock it in. Really support me. I know I had at least one person lock it in for a year over the weekend. That's great. It's $100, and then you save $20. It's not just me. It's everybody else putting out premium content over at Red Voice Media. So please, please, please consider supporting me over there, and you're going to get the full hour of this bad boy. The black budget, again, because we have to speculate, could be anywhere from half that to 2 times that. So let me repeat that for people, okay? Yeah, we've got $850 billion on the books, almost $1 trillion. Okay, then you have the black ops budget that is somewhere in the neighborhood of between $500 billion and $2 trillion that we never hear about and does not have to be accounted for. That's a reality, Stuart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a great book on that called Blank Check by Tim Weiner, and he does his best to figure out precisely what that black budget is. But as you mentioned, it's tough. It's hard to do. So tough, in fact, that, again, many academics would just say, oh, well, you can't figure that out, so why bother worrying about it? Let's go and measure something else. Well, I don't know. that might just be a problem.
Well, even today, Stuart, the breaking news is somehow they messed up on the books on what they gave to Ukraine. And they've got an extra $3 billion for Ukraine. It's just $3 billion. We made a little mistake. Here's another $3 billion. And we're supposed to just accept that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I would, I know this is going out on RVM. I've never branded myself left or right. I've never said I'm a liberal, never said I'm a conservative. I kind of pick and choose on the individual issues. The only thing I really care about is foreign policy. The military-industrial complex and stuff like this. I would challenge all of you out there on the left or the right, because this applies regardless. If you think the military-industrial complex is a problem, well, what else could we use that $850 billion for? This is a country that apparently says it doesn't have enough money to provide healthcare to its citizens. That this is a country that is not near number one in the world for education. So there's just two big social problems, exactly, that maybe you could address. So if you really want to figure out some solutions here, maybe that.
But
might
that's
be,
if you want an informed and active populace.
Get the whole story.
Get the whole story. So yeah, those clips are also available for you guys to share far and wide on all sorts of social media platforms, including Twitter at Jason Bermas, where we gained again, when I gain over 100 people on a weekend, that's like the best I can do. Talk about throttling. Like my tweets, you know, I was like one of the first people to put out the Bilderberg list. So that one got a lot of traction. But if you see the motion and traction on my account and whatever algorithm they got shadow banning me, come on, man. It's because they don't want you to, you know, I got to get Josh Friedman on as well, because Josh Friedman did great. I'd love to get everybody that was there on. Josh Friedman did incredible work. Again, D Yook on Twitter, and that's where you can see, I mean, he goes down the line. Yeah, and Skelton's commentary, just in the tweets, is so worth it. Talk about a guy that's kind of shadow banned. You know, he's got like 6,000 followers. He should have 10 times that easily. Funny guy, and really, this is his really only journalistic topic that I've seen him really focus on. So let's do it. The Portuguese sun was doing its cheery best to make this year's Bilderberg meeting seem warm and welcoming, but nothing could take the deathly chill out of the official agenda of the secretive shindig for some of the world's most powerful people. Ukraine, Russia, and NATO weighed heavy on the schedule with fiscal challenges and transnational threats, seeming like light relief. Today, said the head of NATO, Jens Stoltenberg, arriving in Lisbon to attend the talks, our security environment is more dangerous than it has been since the Cold War. This annual 3-day conference to many things, an elite networking event, a diplomatic summit, a lobbying opportunity for transnational financial interests, an intense focus for conspiracy theory gossip, but above all, the 69th Bilderberg Conference at the glorious Pastana Palace appeared like a council of war. He's not wrong. Damn, Charlie! Kicking ass, taking names, just a great, great written piece. Ukraine's foreign minister hadn't come to Lisbon because he loves the happy clatter of trams, and the supreme allied commander of Europe wasn't here for the custard tarts. Which was a shame, because they're excellent. I guess they can't risk dusting them with cinnamon in Henry Kissinger's presence, because one sneezing might be enough to carry him off to his reward. That's an age joke and a funny one. On the eve of Kissinger's centenary, the former U.S. Secretary of State and longtime Bilderberg kingpin will be delighted, or whatever dull ache he feels instead of delight, to see so many U.S. intelligence officials at this year's meeting. They're Kissinger's kind of people. Biden sent his Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, and his Senior Director for Strategic Planning at the National Security Council, Thomas Wright. Plus a shadowy gaggle of White House strategists and spooks, among them Jen Easterly, the Director of Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security, who said recently that the Western world faces two epic-defining threats and challenges: artificial intelligence and China, both of which feature on this year's agenda. Aside from Ukraine, it was these issues which dominated thinking in Lisbon. China's overarching aim is to rearrange the world order, said Lisbon attendee Elizabeth Economy, who's participating in her second Bilderberg as Biden's senior advisor for China at the Department of Commerce. The rise of what she called a China-centric order with its own norms and values is a gauntlet thrown down at Bilderberg, the elite forum which has helped frame and foster the Western world order for nearly 7 decades. They don't mind a new world order, but they want to be manufactured at Bilderberg, not made in China. I would say a lot of those models align. They align. They want that. That's part of the game. But they certainly want to steer and control it rather than let some other emerging superpower do so. Let's see. The twin threats of China and technology are intertwined in the thinking of Bilderberg board member Eric Schmidt. Just a few days ago, the former boss of Google told a congressional hearing that AI is very much at the center of the competition between China and the U.S., and that China is now dedicating enormous resources to outpace the U.S. in technologies, in particular AI. Schmidt acknowledges the existential risks of AI, even warning that things could be worse than people are saying, but rejects the call made by some AI experts, including Elon Musk, for a 6-month pause in AI development because any delay will simply benefit China. Let me say this. I don't think we should be delaying technology in that sense at all, okay, unless we're really talking about scary, chimeric, biomimetic stuff, which we probably are at this point behind the scenes, but that's not what they're talking about. When we're talking about algorithmic AI in the form of bots and GPTs, whether they be text-based or art-based or even face-based, right? I think it should be an open market, especially when the AI is telling us what it's telling us already censored. Because that, if it's not an open market, we're all screwed. All screwed. There seemed a darkly iconic logic at play. We have to push ahead with developing something which might destroy us before China develops it into something that might destroy us. Another of the Silicon Valley luminaries in Lisbon was Sam Altman, the CEO of OpenAI. OpenAI, isn't that lovely? OpenAI's up in the pizzy. Better believe it. Earlier this week, Altman shared his concerns about AI at a U.S. Senate hearing and warned of the growing capacity for AI to bamboozle the voting public with plausible fakery. A particular worry for Altman, given that we're going to face an election next year and these models are getting better. I mean, like I said, I actually agree it's not just elections, it's everywhere and everything. But everybody's so worried about election integrity. Yeah, okay. Interestingly, the question of U.S. leadership is on the conference agenda here at Bilderberg, although with the looming release of OpenAI's next generation ChatGPT-5, the 2024 presidential debates might well be won by a witty and charismatic chatbot. Altman is in favor of regulatory intervention by governments, which he says will be critical to mitigate the risks of increasingly powerful models. But not everyone here at Bilderberg agrees. Schmidt says that AI needs appropriate guardrails, but caused a stir last week for suggesting rather snootily that AI companies should be self-regulating because there's no way a non-industry person can understand what is possible. Here's the deal. Once again, I want these things to be open source or at least have competition because the AI they're giving us is awful. It's terrible. It's narrative management. Again, it's at the fingertips of those that are programming it. So you can't give a monopoly of the ability to program this AI to people that have been proven liars. Right? The more than 24 politicians at this year's Bilderberg might take issue with that argument. But we'll never know because the entire conference takes place behind closed doors with zero press oversight. Nothing's leaking out from behind the luxuriant bourgeois villas of the Pristina Palace. He is correct there. Increasingly, Kissinger has been attending Bilderberg conferences on and off since 1957. His preoccupation with secrecy and personal diplomacy, as a 1975 profile of his controversial statesman put it, fits perfectly with the Bilderberg ferocious desire to keep the annual talks private. They do love those private talks. They love them. Chatham House rules. And with that being said, we're going to go to our final commercial of this hour before we start to flip. Actually, there's one at the very end. And remember, second hour, you're going to want to go to the RVM Rumble. Subscribe over there. It's free. Nico House is going to be in the house, everybody. It's going to be a great conversation. You're going to want to come over. Let's hit that clip.
Have you heard of Executive Order 14067? This little-known order implemented the digital dollar, the most sinister plan to control your spending. And it gets worse. In November, the federal government and banks began a test program to roll out the digital dollar. With this, privacy for all Americans will be lost forever. Imagine, the government can now track all of your spending. The government can tell you what you can and can't buy. The government could confiscate your cash. When digital currency was rolled out in China, Bloomberg wrote, quote, "This will lead to control like no other," end quote. The EU has announced that they are next, but it is already happening in America, which makes this wealth protection guide that American Alternative Assets just put out even more urgent. Project Hamilton, as this secret order is being called, might be the scariest order to happen to privacy and freedom in America since its founding, which makes this wealth protection guide so incredibly valuable right now. Move your money out of cash and into something that doesn't infringe on your privacy. You see, there is one legal IRS-proof loophole that could protect your IRA, 401k, and pension savings with gold and silver. And this free guide tells you exactly which steps you need to take right now to move part of your IRA or 401k into precious metals with no tax consequences. As this program rolls out, the sky's the limit for the level of government control that could be enforced on your money. Protect your savings and your privacy. But in the devastation ahead, American Alternative Assets is offering you something rare, a chance to protect your wealth and possibly even grow it.
All right, let's continue on in this final segment of the first hour. Again, we got Nico House coming up in the second hour. Lots of private talks, killer piece by Charlie Skelton over at The Guardian. But it's a desire that sometimes tumbles over into paranoia. On Thursday, The Guardian met the European head of Bilderberg, Victor Halberstadt, coming out of the pharmacy in Lisbon, clutching a packet of barrier skin cream. Halberstadt didn't just ignore a polite media approach. He flat out denied that he was Victor Halberstadt and then hopped into a Mercedes, which whisked him off through the security cordon. I'm not that guy. No, seriously, I'm not that guy. Nope. These aren't the droids you're looking for. This kind of Cold War cloak and daggerism seems oddly anarchistic for a conference that is hosting a cutting-edge conversation about artificial intelligence with the CEOs of DeepMind and Microsoft. That said, all the ducking and weaving seems to work if the endgame is inattention by the press. Considering the number and seniority of public figures and policymakers who attend Bilderberg, there is eerie lack of coverage in the world's mainstream press. This year's roster reads just in part 3 prime ministers, 2 deputy prime ministers, the president of the European Parliament, the president of Eurogroup, the vice president of the European Commission, 2 EU commissioners, an MEP, any number of European ministers, and a number of the House of Lords, Dambaiso Moyo, who, besides being a baroness, is also on the board of a giant oil company, Chevron. As ever, Big Oil was a powerful presence at Bilderberg, with the heads of Total, BP, and Galp getting a seat at the table. Big Pharma had a healthy presence, with the heads of Merck and Pfizer and the director of AstraZeneca on the list. Weird. Yeah, you realize that all these things are the things we cover here, right? Right? And the international chemicals industry is represented by the CEO of BASF and a board member of Coca-Cola. Naturally enough, the likely primary interest of these chairman, directors, and CEOs is their bottom line, to which end they're always keen to ensure industry regulations are bent in their favor. Luckily, many of them are senior members of trade federations and commercial lobbying groups. A good example is the International Institute of Finance, a major force in global financial governance. It's chaired by the head of Banco Santander and Bilderberg Steering Committee member, Anna Botin. John Waldron, president of Goldman Sachs, another banking deal, nice, Goldman Sachs, is also on the board. These are two of the most powerful financial lobbyists in the world, and yet they get 3 luxurious days to chew the fat with the policymakers under no real media scrutiny, except for what? Charlie Skelton, Dan Dix, Josh Friedman. I believe the other gentleman's name is Federico Cavallo, right? And then sparsely in the media. Isn't that great? Isn't that lovely? This is the dark heart of Bilderberg's accountability problem. Just because the conference plays out in private doesn't mean the talks take place in some kind of sanctified orb in which the commercial concerns of Luxembourg-based hedge funds, boss like Rolly Van Rompuy, and co-chair of the CVC Capital Partners are somehow temporarily suspended. When the Spanish foreign minister is mulling over Ukraine with the head of NATO, he's doing so within earshot of some of the world's most rapacious investors, like Henry Kravis or hedge fund boss Kenneth Griffin, the 21st richest man in America. These are people whose billions depend on having the informational edge over their competitors. And it's hard to know what the Griffins and Van Rappards are even doing there, except to pick up geostrategic tidbits to help make a quick buck. Arms dealing, anyone? Hey there! Whoa! Have we talked arms dealing before? I wonder if they talk about, I don't know, arms dealing in these books? Arms dealers? Yet, that doesn't seem to raise any ethical red flags with any of the politicians who trot along to the talks. They're quite happy to talk turkey behind the bourgeois villas with a bunch of billionaires and profiteers. But heaven forbid, there's a press conference at the end of it. Bravo, Charlie. Bravo. And like I said, I wanted to go kind of just down the line. Right here is David Lammy. Said he was extremely rude, and he called him a snooty grifter. He is not wrong. This is Clement Beaune right there. He's the French transport minister. Plenty of ministers there, like he said. That's the crew of journalists right there, doing great jobs. Thank God for those people. Thank God for those people. Bon voyage, Henri de 8th Patricia. So there you go. I mean, they nailed it this year. And this is Federico d'Arte Cavallo did an excellent job. I guess they all had themselves a drink at the Bilderberg hotel here where it happened afterwards, once you're allowed to be let back in. Okay, there's the steering committee member. I haven't played this clip. Let's play it. Let's see what we got here.
Bonjour, Ms. Barbizet. Welcome to Lisbon. Will Total be well represented at the meeting this year? Ms. Barbizet, as a steering committee member, could you give me one comment about what you might be focusing on at this year's meeting? No comment? S'il vous plaît? One? Just one? Not even a half of one?
We got to get Friedman on. He does such a good job, man. And this is far from his first rodeo at Bilderberg. He's been there year in and year out. And that means something to me. You know, like, it's not cheap or easy to go do these things. They don't want a spotlight on themselves. That's for sure. That's for certain. People need to realize that. These people want to hide in the darkness. Okay? It's a big deal. They don't want scrutiny over what they're doing, and that's a huge issue. That's a huge problem. We need to you need to have oversight over, I don't know, unaccountable billionaires and their buddies. When you don't, you get a whole lot of this. You get a whole lot of that's again. Look at these books. Look at these books. My God. And again, anybody who wants, I've heard that people write, oh, Whitney Webb steals bullshit. That's the. Again, those are from whiny losers. That's where that started. Like whiny losers and grifters. Her stuff is A1, number one. Well researched. And the people that I've heard that she steals it from, I mean, geez, just some of the worst. Period. Like, period. And it's like, again, talk about attention seekers. They just can't wait. They can't wait to say, oh, you stole this from me. Yeah. She stole it. She's a thief. Just wild stuff. Let's get the thumbs up. Let's get to subscribing. Let's get to sharing. And I want to remind everybody that up in the next hour, we're going to have a conversation with an actual leftist and reporter. You read that right there in his profile. I didn't write it. Nico House. And once again, we're going to talk RFK Jr. We're going to talk Joey B. We're going to talk the state of the media, really, and much more. In fact, that's him right now. I'm going to admit him into the conversation here, and hopefully he's going to be able to hear and see me. But we're going to find out in a second if he does. Nico, can you hear and see me?
I can hear and see your beautiful face.
Well, that is fantastic. We are going to have to go to a VPN commercial in a couple minutes, but it's nice to see you. I haven't talked to you in God knows how long, probably over a year.
Too long, man.
Wait,
it feels like at least a year.
It might probably more than a year, right? I mean, I know that you've been busy. We talk a little bit behind the scenes with your RT thing and so much more, but we really haven't talked about the state of the politics much after the Biden administration has even come into being, and we're almost in the next political cycle, right? So,
facts.
Yeah, for those that don't know you, which would probably be the vast majority of my somewhat conservative audience, at least over at Red Voice Media, that, came along for the ride after me getting a job there. How did you get started, as kind of like this progressive liberal from your generation into what you've become now, which I think is much more of an independent, but I'm going to let you speak for yourself.
Yeah. So funny enough, I actually have never been registered to a political party. I came into the fold working on Bernie's campaign in 2016 while I was at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I started the largest Bernie organization in the country, and it actually started at UNC. But we had done such a great job organizing the community. I ended up running the city, and eventually the campaign had me run the state. So I was the state director for Bernie's campaign right up until about 3 to 4 weeks before the campaign came to an end, obviously at the election of the North Carolina primaries. So to make that long story very short, I caught some motherfuckers cheating, and I was right. It's basically what happened because I just happened to have like a really weird inconvenient network that maybe most of the state directors didn't have, because most of the state directors were political operatives previously. People didn't really trust them all that much for that reason. However, I was a college student. I was a volunteer. I didn't come from a political background. I was just very good at galvanizing and motivating people to get activated. And so people trusted me, including some people in the campaign. So once I figured that out, I talked to Tulsi Gabbard, tried to figure out what I should do. Her, along with Jared and Elizabeth Lee Beck, all agreed that we should do something about it. And that's where the DNC fraud lawsuit was born. Me, Jared, Liz, and Colin O'Brien all worked on the DNC fraud lawsuit that went all the way up to the Supreme Court before it was conveniently knocked down.
Wait, let's talk about it on the other side. We got to go to a commercial break, but this is the last commercial break, and then we're going to the uncensored second hour, everybody. We'll be back after this word from our sponsor.
We love the internet, but the internet is tracking everything you do. Take control of your online privacy with IPVanish. People with malicious intent are everywhere, watching you. Criminals can hack your Wi-Fi, while broadband providers and advertisers monitor your data. With IP Vanish on your device, your internet activity is encrypted. No one can see what you're doing. Your location, your connection, completely hidden. Protect your internet privacy today with IP Vanish.
And of course, I go back into that. I'm sorry, guys. It's on the fly when we do the interviews live. But now, YouTube.
Hey, I'm glad I even looked at that. I needed a new VPN, funny enough.
I actually use that. Listen, so like, that's not even a scam. Like, I'll be honest, I don't have a My Pillow. We do one of those commercials. The only kind of gold and silver I have is physical. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. I'm not invested that way.
Yeah.
But I've been using, that's not a joke. It's on my phone right now. I'll show everybody. I've been using IP Vanish literally probably like 6 years, 7 years. It is a great product. And the best part about it is it does do 5 at a time for your subscription. If you get it like at the discounts, like $74.99, it's not that bad, under $100 for the year. And it has a connection just about everywhere where you want to get some geo content. So we're done with the spiel. We're done over at YouTube, RVM Rumble. Come back. We're talking Supreme Court. We're talking real election fraud all the way back in 2016. And we're going to get into, again, 2020, what his thoughts are on that. Biden, the Republicans, RFK Jr., and more. We'll see you later, YouTube. Okay, Mr. House. Continue, because that Supreme Court lawsuit